Hey, well, welcome to the Campus Pastor Collective. My name is Mark, and I am your host. I'm excited to finally kick off this podcast. It's something I wish I had when I started as a campus pastor. And so what I thought I'd do is for episode 1, tell you a little bit about myself and why we're doing this podcast, and that way you know what journey you began with us. So a little bit about me, campus pastor, of course. I'm at a multi-site church. We're in Central Illinois. I'm going into my 4th year of being a campus pastor. But ministry for me starts back basically at childhood. Like I'm actually a 4th generation pastor in my family. My dad, to this day, still pastors. He's down in Texas now. And both my grandfathers were pastors. My great-grandfather was a pastor. And so long lineage, generational blessings, as I call it. And I take great pride in having that history of God's anointing on my family. And so I grew up around ministry, of course, dad preaching at churches growing up. Family even used to travel around and do music ministry and revival style weekends and things of that nature, all over central Illinois, Indiana, and into Kentucky, Tennessee, even like just all over the place. It was a really cool experience growing up, being able to be on stages and minister each and every weekend. But even with all of that, like I never anticipated being a campus pastor, mostly because I never grew up in this kind of a context. My calling came when I was really young. I was 9 or 10 years old. And I remember being in one of our services and went to went up to pray at the altar. And I just remember this warm hand on my back. We've all been there. You're praying at an altar and you just feel that warm hand on your back, and you got no idea who it is. And so you're just praying away, and I could hear the guy praying behind me. And once we got done praying, and I stood up to say, "Hey, thanks for praying for me." And I turned around to shake his hand. It's this older gentleman, to this day still. I don't know who he is. I don't know his name. But he looks at me and he says, "The Lord wants me to tell you that you're gonna serve him with your life. You're gonna be in full-time ministry." Well, for me as a 10-year-old, I just assumed that's what my dad was already doing. And my dad was bivocational, but to me, like as much as we were at church, it felt like full-time ministry. And so I just assumed that that's what that meant. And so I grew up just with that understanding that that's what would someday become just like my dad and become a pastor like him of all these smaller churches. And so fast forward, I end up at the church I'm at now, and we at that time weren't multi-site, but then we were growing, and then the community next to us, we had a lot of people driving from that community, so we planted a site at the next community over, and became a multi-site church, and the morning Sunday attendance was more than probably all my dad's churches put together, right? Like, and not that small churches don't matter, hear my heart. Like, it was just I'd never experienced this kind of church before, this big of church before. I was always in much smaller context. And so when I stepped into the role, I actually first stepped in as a creative arts pastor for our central team, and then later our campus pastor where I'm at now was stepping down, and the lead pastor, who was my mentor, and came to me and said, "Hey, I think I want you and your wife to pray about this. Think about becoming campus pastors at this campus. He's stepping down." And I'm like, "Oh, wow." Never thought about being a creative arts pastor growing up, to be honest. So I didn't even know that was a thing. It was always just pastor and occasionally a youth pastor, right? And so neither one of those positions, the creative arts pastor, now campus pastor, was anything I'd ever really thought about or dreamt of. And so when I'm stepping into this role, even though I have my lead pastor who's mentoring me, there was still the question of, what does it truly mean to be a campus pastor? How do I lead effectively if I'm not the guy making the decisions, right? Like, I didn't know what that meant. How do I own the vision of the church and make it come alive at my location? Like, these were all questions like I was trying to figure out when I first stepped into being a campus pastor. And so what I do, well, it's 21st century. We start looking online, right? I'm starting to look for resources. What's out there that can help me become the best campus pastor I can be? Now, there are plenty of resources when it comes to multi-site church. And of course, you're at a multi-site church if you're a campus pastor, so you understand that. Like, the resources are endless for how to grow a multi-site church, how to plant more locations, how to do all these things. But what it actually meant to be a campus pastor, the boots on the ground, day-to-day leadership, unique struggles, wins, even specific areas of growth, there wasn't resources that focused on that campus pastor role. And even recently, I attended a church conference, pastors conference, and what they did was had network lunches at one of the lunch times and it was based off of ministry role. You know where I'm going with this. So there was lead pastor tables, there was kids pastor table, there was youth pastor tables, there was worship pastors tables, there was executive pastors table. Guess who didn't have a table? That's right, campus pastors. There's no campus pastor. Now, granted, in the context of this lunch or this conference, there wasn't a lot of multi-site churches, maybe a handful at best. But what I ended up getting lumped into, what I ended up landing at, because if you ask some people, campus pastors are kind of lead pastors because we're leading our campus. But if you ask other people, we're not lead pastors because we don't have all that decision making. So I landed at what was at this conference was the other table. It's where all the other pastors. I don't even know there was a lot of options outside of those, for being an others table. But that's where I landed. And that's not when it hit me, but it kind of brought more revelation to me of saying, like, hey, campus pastors are often, we end up becoming outliers. We're leading, shepherding people, but what we don't have is a clear space to connect with others who do what we do. And so that's why I'm starting this podcast. I want to create a space where campus pastors, we can connect, we can learn, we can grow together, a place where we can wrestle with the challenges of leading under somebody else's vision, a place where we can talk about shepherding people well, leading teams in a way that makes a real life impact inside of our communities. Because I truly believe that being a campus pastor is the greatest pastoring position in ministry. That's a hot take, right? That's kind of a bold statement. And I know that if there's a youth pastor, worship pastor, whatever pastor who happens to hear this, that happen to fall on this podcast, it's not a campus pastor and trying to figure out what we're doing here, you're going to be like, you're wrong. There's no way. What I do is the best pastor position. Well, you should feel that way because I believe if you're in ministry, whatever role you're carrying out, well, you should feel excited about your role. But the reason I believe that the campus pastor is such an incredible opportunity is because we get to focus on the thing that we got into ministry for in the first place: pastoring people, shepherding people. Like, we don't deal with the big picture, high level challenges of leading the entire church. You don't have to worry about how each ministry is effectively going to run, to operate. We're not picking kids curriculum or youth curriculum or worship set lists. Like, we get to shepherd people. We get to be deeply involved in their lives, discipling them, walking them through the highs, the lows. We get to counsel people that are on the brink of divorce, pray with people in their darkest moments, and we get to celebrate with them in their greatest victories. That's why this podcast exists. I want to help you and I become the best campus pastors we can be. But here's the truth: I don't have all the answers. And so I need you. Together, we can work this thing out. We can work through these things together. So I want to hear from you. If you're a campus pastor, please reach out to me. Send me a message. I want your help building this thing together. I want to get you on the podcast. You have something unique to share. You have something unique perspective, something you've learned that'll help me and help other campus pastors who are in this same role. And so we want your help. Let's build this thing together. I don't want to do this alone. I need your help. And so before I close out today, you get to learn a little bit about me, who I am. What I do want to do is I want to leave you with kind of that one thing. The one thing that maybe you can walk out of here with beyond just figuring out, hey, who's this host? Who's this Mark Cartwright? Who's the Campus Pastor Collective? I want to leave you with one thing that you can go back into your role as campus pastor and lead well. And so today I want to talk about one of the biggest struggles campus pastors have, and that's leading under someone else's vision. This was close to me because I do think I do this well. I have a great relationship with my lead pastor. Beyond him being my lead pastor, he's also been a mentor to me in ministry and life and marriage for a number of years. And so I do have a great relationship with him. But because of that, I think I'm able to understand and speak to this and maybe help you lead better when it comes to leading under someone else's vision. So we don't set the vision. We're campus pastors. We carry it. We don't call the shots, but we implement them. And so that can be a challenging, but if we approach it with the right mindset, I think that ultimately that we can lead well as campus pastors. Because the truth is, we don't need the title to have influence. We don't need to be a lead pastor in order to lead well at our campus. Because leadership's not about control, it's about stewardship. It's even lead pastors, ultimately, like they're only stewarding what God has entrusted into them, right? Like Jesus says, I will build my church. We get just to be a part of that. And so as pastors, we get to build people and teams and help people discover their purpose to ultimately live out the life that God's. We get to make disciples, right? We're equipping people. And so even lead pastors are only stewarding the vision that God has for his church. And so as campus pastors, we're only continuing to carry that vision that God has entrusted inside the lead pastor. So we have this unique responsibility to lead well with inside of a structure or playbook or whatever that we've been given. So how do we lead well when we're not in charge? I think there are three key mindsets that can change, will change your approach, my approach, our approach as campus pastors. The first mindset is that we own the vision like it's ours. You have to own the vision. You didn't create it, but you still own it. Like you didn't create your car, but you own it, right? Like I know it's a little bit different, but it's the same kind of similar concept. Like you didn't create the vision, but you can own that vision like it's yours. You carry that thing and say like, no, like this is the vision of the church. Because I think one of the biggest mistakes we can make is acting like a renter instead of an owner. And I know I'm not a big owner fan, but the steward, right? Maybe it's acting like a good steward of the vision that's been entrusted. And because when you treat the vision like it doesn't belong to you, your team's going to pick up on that. Your church will pick up on that. And if you're half in, they're going to be half in. Your job isn't to create the vision, it's to carry the vision that's been given to the lead pastor and ensure that your campus is embodying it. So that means that we're fully invested. Okay, we're speaking about it with passion. We're helping our team understand that everything we do ties back to it. If you do groups, ties back to the vision. Sunday services tie back to the vision. If you do kids ministry, somehow it ties back to the vision, right? Everything we're doing is tying back to the vision that God has given our lead pastors for our church. That matters. And so we have to be invested in that. We have to steward that. And that way our team, our church will also own and steward that vision. All right, second mindset is that we lead with influence, not just position. I'm a John Maxwell guy. I got a number of his books sitting up here in my library, but I also am on John Maxwell's certified leadership team. And what John says is that leadership is influence, nothing more, nothing less. You'll hear me quote him a lot, this part in particular quite a bit because of how important this is. This isn't about authority. This is about influence. So you may not be in charge of the entire church, but you're in charge of how people experience church at your campus. And so influence, when we talk about influencing people, that starts with relationships. We got to have influence and build inside of those relationships to gain that influence. Okay. So if it's your staff, if it's your volunteer team, if it's your congregation, in order to truly get them under your influence, to lead them well, you have to invest. So the more you invest in those, the more trust you build and the greater impact your campus is going to have for God's kingdom. That's why we're doing this, right? And so we don't need the title of lead pastor in order to lead our campus as well, to influence our campus as well, to help move the mission that God has put your church on. You don't have to have a title to do that. You do that through influence, and that influence comes through investment inside of people. People don't care what you know till they know that you care. I tell my team that all the time. I tell our leadership all the way down the pipeline, from our staff to volunteer leaders to volunteer coaches, all the way down. Like, hey, people on your team, you'll never try to get them to do anything until you first have showed them that you care about them. People want to be cared for. That's what the business that we're in. Okay. All right. Mindset number 3. That's the last one. Be a problem solver, not a problem finder. I spent 5 years in the Marine Corps. You'll see some of the stuff in the background. Some of the greatest leadership lessons I ever learned in my life was through the Marine Corps. But one of the ones that stuck with me most probably was from this first sergeant I had. I need to chase him down because this was such a profound leadership lesson, but it was yet so simple. And it's this: don't bring me a problem without bringing me a solution. That was his rule. You couldn't walk into his office without a solution to the problem that you were bringing. And I promise you, I remember very, very vividly him kicking people out of his office and yelling and screaming because they brought him a problem without bringing him a solution. He was very serious upon this. Now, the truth is, he probably already knew about the problem. Like, he was a very good leader, and so the fact that we were bringing it to him, if you were a younger Marine, he probably already knew about it, but maybe not. And then the other truth is that the solution you had may not have been the right one, may not have been the best one. It was just a solution. And so what you don't do is you don't get married to that solution, but you get married to the mindset of being a solution finder. If you ask any lead pastor, if you're a lead pastor, you happen to find this thing, you would agree. A lead pastor is going to value a campus pastor that brings solutions, not just problems. We don't want to just always say, hey, I got this problem at my campus. I got this problem at my campus. I got this problem at my campus. Figure it out. No, like we can bring solutions. What we don't do, again, we don't get married to that solution. It's not like hey, I brought this solution. This is the only solution. No, there's probably other solutions out there, right? Like there may be even a better one. Why? Because we're not systems people, right? We're campus pastors. We're people, right? And so instead of saying, hey, I don't have enough volunteers, maybe it's, hey, here's how I'm tweaking, or here's an idea on how to tweak our pipeline to recruit and retain volunteers. Maybe you don't have a pipeline to recruit and retain volunteers. So maybe you're introducing an opportunity to recruit and retain volunteers. Because it's one of those things. If you're having this issue, well, then maybe other campuses at your church are having this issue. And so it's a good opportunity to help bring a solution. But again, we don't get married to it, because as campus pastors, we're carriers, right? We're running the playbook. We want to be helpful, but we're not going to get married to the solution, because that's not what we do. There's probably somebody who's better at systems who can find a better solution. But I do want us to be the mindset shift, right? It's the mindset of us as campus pastors that we just don't find problems to bring back. We want to help build the church that God has entrusted in all of us. So challenge this week, that problem you're facing, because as soon as I started talking about problems at campuses, you immediately thought of something. Like your mind immediately went there, like, oh, I got this problem and I've been dealing with it for a couple of weeks and just haven't been able to figure it out yet. Haven't talked to anybody about it yet. And you got this problem, right? Like, you're already thinking about it. So this week, commit to finding a solution. Call some other churches. Go online, do some Google searches. heck, go to ChatGPT, right? Go find some options out there that, hey, here's a possible solution. And so when you go into that staff meeting this week with that problem, whether it's with your lead pastor, central team, however you guys do that, right? Whenever you go into it with that problem, bring a possible solution and then release it. Okay, remember, we're not stuck to the solution. We're going to release that and say, hey, here's possible. Let me know if this is helpful or not. If not, no big deal. But I want to present this to you. This is something we're dealing with on our campus. We'd like to get this resolved. Love to be of help any way I can, right? And then just leave it at that. But let's start mindset shifting, right? Let's carry that vision, right? Let's lead with influence, and let's be problem solvers. Okay. Hey, I hope this was some encouragement to you today. I hope it brought some clarity even to your leadership. I hope there's that one thing you can walk out of here today saying, man, this really helped me today. The reality is that we don't have to be the primary leader to be powerful leaders. Being a campus pastor is unique, but it's so rewarding, and we really get to have an impact and influence on people's lives and on God's kingdom. So if this episode was helpful for you, I want a couple favors. First of all, subscribe to the podcast. That's how you can get notifications of future podcast drops when we're having more conversations with campus pastors and being able to wrestle with these things of campus pastors. So I don't want you to miss an episode. If you know a campus pastor that could use this, send it their way. What we discussed today may be exactly what they needed to hear today. Also, I've started a Campus Pastor Collective Facebook group. That's the continuing conversation. And so I want to invite you to that. There'll be a link down in the description. I want you to join us. You jump in there. We'll continue this conversation. We're having other conversations. It's a place to bring questions. It's a place to bring ideas. It's a place to bring prayer requests. Whatever you're facing, whatever you're dealing with, we want to continue the conversation and be able to come together as a group of campus pastors. And so that is available as a resource to you as well. Hey, thank you for joining me today on the Campus Pastor Collective. I'm so thankful for this opportunity to speak into you. I want you to be a part of this, so don't forget, reach out to me, message me. Let's get you on the podcast. I want you sharing what God's taught you about being a campus pastor so you can share your story with others. Until next time, guys, have a great week.